This is the Metz Ardos MF Premium. Metz is a high-end German brand of television that they've been in business for decades now, and they're still in business to this day. This model in front of us is a 32-inch widescreen CRT. It's perfectly flat. Its date perhaps around 2003. I would have guessed a bit earlier, but the only sort of information I can find on it suggests it came out in 2003. This is the remote here for it, genuine Metz remote. You can see down the bottom here at the front that it's got a little display to tell you what channel it's on. It's pretty nice. Panel that lifts down, S-Video composite and a couple of controls there. Main power switch there at the front. I was fortunate to get some literature with this TV, get some of the accompanying manuals and things this time. So I've got a copy of the manual in German there and in English. It actually covers two models, the Ardos, which this is, and the Atlantis. Also some quick reference cards and something else there as well. It's not a bad looking TV, a black, gloss black look to it. This is interesting. I've never seen anything like this before. This white thing here is a light. It looks like it's got a fluorescent tube inside it. You can turn it on with a button on the remote with this light button here. Just hold it on. You can see it says dim 40 there because you can change the brightness of the light at the back. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there you can see that it's turned on. I don't know really what the point of it is, just to create a bit of an atmosphere or something in a room, get a bit of a glow at the back, but a bit of a novelty. You turn it off. Here at the back we've got the model number, the full model number, 100 there suggesting it's 100 Hertz. That's what it is, 100 Hertz refresh rate. Down here in the connections we've got, I'll pull those SCARTs out of the way. We've got 3 SCARTs, one in the top in the shade there, you might be able to see. Antenna in and satellite, audio out in the RCA form. A service socket there on the left and a couple of speaker ones there. Surprisingly, I don't see any VGA connection, or I don't even see any perforated plastic section to possibly put an upgrade kit in. I wouldn't say that this TV does not do VGA, but there's nowhere on the back here or at the front that suggests that a card or a D-sub connector will be displaying. I'm not really sure what the goes there with that. And one other thing to make note of here at the back, there's also a cover. This cover here can go onto the back. That can be screwed in there like so on the back just to hide things up. I guess if you were having your TV out in the middle of a room, you could put this on and cover up all the cords around the back of it. But just another fancy little gimmick from Metz there. I'll take the back shell off and we'll have a look inside. With the back off, we can see the tube is yet another Philips tube, the staple of the German TV manufacturers, made in Germany. Also has a little Metz stamp on there. Back on the subject of the VGA input, now the manual states, sort of basically says there is a VGA kit, and I assume it's for the TV, but as you saw before, the manual is for 2 different models, so whether this particular one takes VGA or not, I just don't know. There doesn't really look like there's any sort of expansion on the main board to plug a card in, and keep in mind these cards can be quite big. This is a VGA card I pulled out of the Grundig Zentia I reviewed a month or 2 ago. That's you know, that's a fair size just to sort of put in there somewhere, and I don't really see any sort of slot. So I don't know, it's hard to say. Couple of nice big heat sinks there. Nice little plastic cage over this area of the chassis too. Here's the back cover off. You can see there's a couple of, there's at least 3 wires there. You've got at least one of those for that light on the back, so that accounts for that. Anyhow, we'll turn it on and see what it looks like. We'll have a look at the menu system of the Metz. Oops. Go into the main menu. Go into equipment configuration here, as you can see at the bottom. Device connection. Now here you can choose which signal you want to go into each of the SCART sockets, Euro 1, RGB in on SCART 1, as well as video and composite. SCART 2 is composite and S-video only, there's no RGB for it, and SCART 3 will accept RGB and composite but no S-video, so differing combinations on each SCART, but most importantly RGB on Euro 1 and Euro 3. When I first turned the Mets on and had a look at some games, I thought it looked pretty ghastly. I've had a good tweak of the settings here and it's looking much better. As I said before, it is a TV with a 100Hz refresh rate and it does have some of the problems that they all seem to have. So it's one of the reasons I bought the Mets, because I haven't had a Mets yet in the collection and I wanted to see what Mets 100Hz processing is like. It's probably better than some I've seen. Here in the picture settings, particularly sharpness, I had to turn that right down. If you've fiddled around with any emulators before, you know you can sometimes add filters and soften the image. Well, that's what I've done with the sharpness. I turned it right down because it looked just too rough around the edges being sharp, so that's dropped right down. Very interesting thing is this noise reduction. That's set as low as it possibly can. Now, I'm sure the camera is going to pick this up when I increase the noise reduction feature. I'm going to put it right up to the maximum, and it just absolutely blurs the image. It's got like a massive ghosting effect in everything that moves, and this is sometimes what I see with 100Hz processing, but not to this degree, nowhere as severe as this, but a bit of ghosting you could call it. I put the noise reduction right up so you can see it. It looks like the camera's picked it right up. You can see Kenny looks almost transparent when he moves, or he's sort of almost disappearing. It's quite interesting, but that needs to go right down to stop that. It's much better when it's turned right off. I have to report that there are no scan lines in the image. 100Hz processing has removed all scan lines. Also, another little thing in here is progressive scan, which is turned on. When it's turned on, it gives the image a little bit of an interlaced flicker look. It doesn't look too different when it's turned off, if I can get that. Sorry. It does remove a little bit of that interlaced flicker, but I've noticed the top 1/3 of the screen does get that that effect, that noise reduction effect you saw before, where there's a little bit of ghosting. It won't come up on the camera, but that's what happens when progressive scan is turned off, so I prefer it to actually be on. Let's have a quick look at the PlayStation. This is the SAT model at the PlayStation. I've got that hooked up right now. Just get the game ready, turn it out of widescreen, get it into 4:3. So Mega Man's not looking too bad again. There's no scan lines whatsoever, and there's a tiny little bit of ghosting going on. It's certainly one of the better 100Hz efforts, but it still doesn't beat a good classic SCART RGB TV, one of the 50Hz refresh rate or 60 for NTSC stuff. So there's no real advantage in the Mets here for your classic gaming purposes. Also, the Mets doesn't have any component input into it whatsoever. I just don't think component video was all that big in Europe. They got into it pretty late, at least with the European manufacturers, so that's a bit of a blow against it. I've never had a Mets in the collection before, and being a high-end brand that it is, with a good reputation, it was essential that I got one. Mets, I think they made their debut in the mid-90s in Australia. I've never seen a pre-mid-90s model at all, so that's about when they debuted, and by that time they were well into their 100Hz processing in their TVs. They did, however, bring out some 50Hz models, but as scarce as Mets are in general, to find those particular 50Hz models will be even a bigger task, as the 100Hz models are newer and Metz's popularity seemed to pick up a little bit later on in its life. So if you're looking for a 50Hz model, you're going to probably look for a 68cm that's not widescreen, or even smaller in size. That's your best bet. Certainly great to see how it compares to Grundig and Lever and all the rest. Anyhow, that's pretty much it for this video. I've showed you a Metz, something different, and I'm sure something else will come up in the future, so keep watching, and thanks, see you next time.